I started from going from the pearly white board table with a bunch of private equity guys and Fortune 500 CEOs as my board members and my great tech team, and to a dish pit where I literally started cleaning dishes like everybody else should, learn to make food and serve people at the counter and expo and clean tables. And I just learned the industry because I wanted to be a learn-it-all. But it was a big shift for me.
Hello, and welcome to Behind Numbers, the podcast where we go beyond the surface to uncover what isn't visible from the outside. I'm your host, Alessandro Cozzi, and today I'm joined by Andrew Smith. Andrew is a successful tech entrepreneur who, at a pivotal moment in his life, made an unexpected shift, leaving tech behind and building what has become one of the most influential platforms in the hospitality space. Andrew, I'm truly excited to have you here. Welcome to Behind Numbers.
Thank you. It's a way to kick off the year to be with you, Alessandro. So thank you for having me.
Fantastic. And I would like to start from a couple of years or maybe more, because as I mentioned, you built and sold several tech companies. And then in 2008, maybe the worst possible timing, you enter in the restaurant business. Why did you do it, especially when the odds were clearly against you?
I've always felt like when you build a business, you can look at things as being the worst time, or you can actually look at it as the most opportune time. And for me, I've made it through the dot-com bubble of 2002. I've made it through the GFC, which was in 2008. I've made it now through a worldwide pandemic. And in each of those times, I made it through that because I felt like there was more opportunity in the margins of what was going on. And if you have the courage to lean in and actually grow a business through the barn fire that you're in, if you can get a hose and figure your way through it, usually there's more opportunity on the backside of that. Most people usually fret that and they kind of stand on the sideline, or they just pause and wait for it to pass. But if you do that, others have continued to charge forward, which means they're going to be behind and I will be forward. So for me, I've always thought to myself, there's always opportunity when things are tough, there's headwinds to move forward and build a business. And I've done that, like you said, in tech. I've done it also in food and beverage, and we'll continue to do it.
Great. And it is not the first time that I'm hearing your story, which is a fascinating story. But tell me if I'm wrong, that maybe you were also pushed by someone in entering inside this business. Am I right?
My wife is the one that is my partner. She's been my partner now for 17 years, if you can believe it. We're going on 18 years. We've been married for 26. We're almost 27 years married. And yeah, for us, we didn't think we would work together. I think most people, when you talk to them about working with their spouse, they're like, oh, I could never do that. We'd kill each other, or we would hate working with each other. We love each other, but we wouldn't be partners. And I'm like, that's kind of weird, because I actually really like my wife. We really like working together, and we also love each other. So for us, it's like the best partnership. It's the best of both worlds of having a great life partner, a great business partner. But I was in tech and we were going through a pretty difficult time in the GFC. The great financial crash was very brutal to my business. We were private equity backed at the time, so we survived the GFC. But while the GFC was happening, my wife came to me and said, hey, I'd like to open up a restaurant. I'm like, that is the craziest idea. Why would you ever want to do that? It'll fail like everything else is failing. And the one thing that I just didn't realize is that it's just not correlated. This industry that we're in, it's correlated in some ways, but it's not correlated as severely as most industries. And so she opened up her first restaurant in October of 2008. And I was just dumbfounded of how not only busy it was, which was kind of a fallacy debunker, but it was also so profitable. I remember getting to the end of December and looking at our first P&L, and I'm like, what's that number right there? And Shauna was like, I think that's called profit. And here I came, Alessandro, from the tech industry. I'm like, I never see a P&L that has profit. You just burn cash. And so I was so intrigued that not only was it busy, but it was extremely cash flow positive. And I made it through the GFC with my tech business. We had a successful sale in the summer of 2009. And I had a crossroads. It's, do I do another tech business? Do I stay as president of that firm, which is actually still around 17 years later? Or do I do something different? And my wife said, well, why don't you come join me? And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to. So I started from going from the pearly white board table with a bunch of private equity guys and Fortune 500 CEOs as my board members and my great tech team, and to a dish pit where I literally started cleaning dishes like everybody else should, learn to make food and serve people at the counter and expo and clean tables. And I just learned the industry because I wanted to be a learn-it-all. But it was a big shift for me after having a successful 11-year career in tech. It was a big shift to go to food and beverage and to be a true blue collar worker where you're cleaning up after people, not just eating there. And after I got through kind of the week-long, I'd say ego hit. It was an ego hit. I'm like, why did I just decide to do this? This is crazy. I was at the top of the hill and had had some real good success in my career. I'm like, what am I doing here? But then, Alessandro, I got bit by the bug, the hospitality bug, the industry bug. And I'm like, what if we do a couple more of these, Shauna? And she's like, yeah, let's do a couple more. History will have it. We've been together now 17, going on 18 years, and done 15 brands and built about 550 restaurants, about $3 billion in sales, and a lot of profit. Anybody that asks me, can you make money in this industry? I kind of just laugh. And I'm like, I never made money in the tech industry until I sold. But yeah, this industry is one to be around forever because we're eating less at home, and more of us are eating out, and more of us use that as kind of our entertainment. That's why we call it eatertainment. And I just like being in such a persistent segment of the marketplace where whatever's happening in the world, whether there's missiles flying, whether there's a pandemic, while there's inflation or not, people still are going to eat. And so I like being in an industry that's persistent.
And which were the main drivers that made you think, I'm going to go from being a founder, from being a president, from being a CEO to go and start from the dish pit? So which are the things that made you think, I'm going to try it out? And then really, why did you do it?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. And I think that people that miss this probably miss a lot in their life as far as building their career. And that is, in any industry that I was in, even in tech, I had to study the industry and become a learn-it-all. I had to learn everything I could about the industry that I was going to be in so I could talk intelligently about it, and that I could be respected in the industry that I'm either serving or building a tech in or selling to. And it was no different with food and beverage. I remember being in college and being a cook at Olive Garden. So I worked on the line, and it was very hard. And I'm like, man, I'll never do food. And I was young. And then you fast forward 14, 15 years, and here I got back into the industry. So it wasn't something totally unfamiliar to me that food and beverage is something that 1 in 3 young adults work in before they become an adult, or when they're young adults, they still work in a food and beverage establishment through college or other things. It's a stepstone in life for many people. And I think it's a good stepstone in life because you learn so many personal skills will assist you in your life. But for me, it wasn't hard for me for my 4th business venture, joining Shauna and saying, we're going to do food and beverage together. It wasn't hard for me in my mind to say, well, I need to go be a learn-it-all. So where do you start? Well, you start as a dishwasher because that's where most people start. So for me, even though I had to swallow my pride and it was an ego hit, I'm like, I got to learn how to do this too. Man, it was so hard. That was a hard job. I can't believe how some of those dishwashers will go back there and they'll do a 6-8 hour shift and they'll just wash dishes. And I remember doing it for 3-4 hours. I'm like, oh my gosh, my back, my feet, my legs, I'm going to die. This is so hard. But I'd done it many days, not just one day. I did it many days, and I did it many times throughout my career in food and beverage. And it's interesting now, Alessandro, when I go into one of our restaurants, anywhere, I'll go say hi to the team. I'll go right into the kitchen, say hi to all my kitchen staff, my prep workers, and I'll go right to the dishwashers and say, just so you know, I've been a dishwasher too. And it is a hard job, and nothing in this restaurant works without you. And it's funny because so many times the dishwashers will be like, really? I'm like, well, yeah, we don't have clean dishware or potterware. Nothing else works. And so it makes them feel like, wow, I'm part of a system here that makes sense that I'm part of it. And so every single piece of a business is necessary. And that's the one thing that you learn going to dishwasher, going and making food, prepping food, serving food, doesn't matter. And then right when you get to the point where you're like, man, I'm now the king, I'm the kingpin, I'm the top of the mountain now. Doesn't matter if you're on the top of the mountain. If you still don't know what it's like to be in each of those positions on the front line, how are you going to lead the business to excellence? You can't. So you need to know what you're doing, what you're serving, what industry you're in. And if you haven't done that, who in the hell's going to respect you anyway?
Yeah. I feel that that's the best way to build trust to build trust not only inside the company, but also from the outside on what you can really do, because you have done every single step so that you
Yep.
know every single step of the chain on what you should do and how you should do it.
You know, we walk up to restaurants though, and this is one point I'll make to you. Even when you're a leader, and if there's other people that are listening to this, we're like, oh, I'm a leader. I don't need to do that now. And I hate when people also say, well, like, of course, when I go to my restaurants, I pick up garbage or whatever. Don't do it for a show. Do it because you know that's what's right for your business. There will be times that we'll walk into restaurants, we'll eat, and we'll get up and we'll start clearing our own table. And they'll run up and like, no, Andrew and Shauna, we've got it. Or me and my team, or Shauna and the team that she's there with. They're like, no, we got it. We can clean up after ourselves. We know what it takes. We know how to do it. And it's not to show, it's to say we're all part of it. It's no one serves the other person because they're their leader. It's if you're not a servant leader, then you shouldn't be in this industry, because we're here to serve those that are on the front line, period. We're not here for them to serve us.
And so you started the first one and you liked it and it was going great. And then you were talking with your wife, Shauna, and saying, well, why don't we do it for a second time and then a third time? When did you start thinking this could get bigger? Eventually, also in getting to where you are right now and having multiple funds.
Yeah, for us, it's never been, I don't sit down, and I know a lot of businesses do, and I think it's fine, but I don't ever sit down and say, in 5 years, this is what we're doing, or in 15 years, this is what we're going to be. I have an idea. It's obscure. It's always obscure in my mind because the things change. Like when I was a younger entrepreneur, Alessandro, of course, when you're tech, you say, well, we're here and then we're going to go here. And you show this little hockey stick on your reports and you show that to your investors. And it never really goes that way. I mean, it's 1% of businesses that just do that, right? Like the very few do that. And so because I know that, if I look over, my career has been up and to the right. But what I don't tell people, unless I'm able to break it down, is if you zoom up onto that up and to the right over the last 29 years of my career being an entrepreneur and a CEO and a founder, you zoom up, there's so many peaks and valleys and peaks and valleys and peaks and valleys. And over time, I've learned to have successes, right? Success doesn't just beget success where it's just all up and to the right. And so for me, I looked at the opportunity of building this restaurant enterprise. Shauna and I had 150 restaurants across America. We had 50 of those bakery and cafes. We had 87 Little Caesars. We had just invested into Swig and Mobetta's. We said, this takes persistent capital. This industry can't live without persistent capital, where you have cash to continue to build more four-wall units, more rooftops. You have to be able to lean into hiring additional staff so that you have the people before the growth. And because of that, instead of using the bank of Andrew and Shauna for everything, we had a lot of people that knew us and they had seen my career and they're like, you know what? Makes a lot of sense to just back Andrew to be in this industry versus going out and trying to fund a restaurant that I like, or my neighbor that has a restaurant concept idea. Why don't we go get with the true operators? And so because I had those conversations, partner and I decided to put up a private equity fund to use our team, our playbook of scale and growth, and having the persistent capital. Those three legs of that stool didn't exist in our industry. They still don't. I don't know of anybody that does it the way Savory does. And so we saw that as an opportunity, and that's when we launched Fund 1 in 2018. We did Fund 2 in 2021, and we are now on Fund 3, which we're going to close at the end of this quarter. Will be closed, and it's a successful fundraise already. And we've already bought a couple of assets in that fund, and we'll buy 7 more brands in that fund. It kind of just happens because it's going so well that you say, okay, well, what's the next step, right? I'm a big believer too that you can't skip steps. Someone that wants to do what we're doing, I always tell them, Alessandro, go do it. Go be Savory 2.0. Like, go build your own Savory. I can't fund every brand. And there's so many brands out there that could use support and help from capital and expertise. But the problem is you can't just go and skip steps and say, I'm going to go assemble a team. I'm going to go raise a bunch of money and buy a bunch of brands. You kind of got to do a one step after a next, because it takes that to build a great company. And we've just been very fortunate to be able to do that one step after another step after another step for 18 years. So when anybody ever says that, I'm like, I don't look at you as competition, because I'm 18 years ahead of you. And it took us 18 years to build what we are. And there should be more of us out there, but it's a tough road to go down.
And when you're thinking about acquiring any new brands, what are you most looking at? Is it more the bottom line or is it more the people that are behind that brand?
Yeah, it's a combination of all. I wish I could just say it's the people. But if you and I get along great and you have a great brand, Alessandro, but I really, really, really like you, and then I look at your financials and you're losing money, it's like, well, I really, really like you. I don't really, really like your financials. So I don't usually invest into just people because the business on its end, on its own accord, the business has to be a successful business in its own right. Because for us, we don't invest into startup. We don't invest into ideas because that's just a different investment philosophy. And I think there's plenty of people that are friends and family and yourself and SBA loans that you can get and stuff. Go figure it out and see if it works. That's on you. You're a founder. Yes, that's a right that you should earn by your hard sweat equity on proving your brand. But once after several years has gone by, you've serendipitously opened 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 units, whatever, and you've proven that customers like us, they keep coming back. You're going to hit a natural wall. It's an invisible wall, but you hit a wall. And now is, I don't know what to do now because I have a successful business, but I've never gone from Utah to Idaho and to Colorado and to Kansas City, or I've never gone from Florida to the Carolinas to New York City. That's a very different skill set. I know that because I've done it multiple times. Very different skill set. Now, if you came to me, Alessandro, and said, hey, can your team come up with the next Kava? No, that's not our skill set. We know what we're good at, and we know what founders are good at. Founders are good at curating a new concept and proving it. But once it's proven, it's got good unit level economics, good cash on cash, has a persistent base of customers and loyal customers, and a great founder, those rise above the rest. And we see them. They kind of stick their head up and like, look at me, I'm doing better than everybody else in this field. Those are the ones we go target, and those are the ones we talk to because they're the ones that have the best opportunity and probably it's most probable that they'll grow, that they'll scale. And then we come in and we partner with the founder. We require the founders to stay involved. They can't leave. If we buy in and they want to go retire on their boat, they can't. Not with us part of it. We want them to be part of the business with us. They're the heart and soul of the business. I know how that is because I am a founder. And so we just tell them, like, you got to be part of the business moving forward. And they usually want to stay anyway. Founders where they're like, you know what, Alessandro, I'd love to just sell it to you and I'm out. We're like, love your concept, but we're out too. We're not doing a deal. So we want to partner with founders and their teams to help them. We always say it's brand led and it's Savory supported. We have a 70-person team right here to my right. Been doing this for 17, 18 years together. My average tenure out here is 13 years. Wow. 13 years. And in this industry, that's not typical. You get people just rotate every 18, 24 months, 13 years with such low attrition. I don't even know if it's even a reading. But for us, the reason why we know that we have something special is because we know how to pick them and we know how to scale them. And we don't have a gun against our head of how fast we grow them, how fast we scale them. We go at the pace that we know is right.
And during all those years, have you ever had a moment that you were seriously thinking, I'm just going to quit? Not because of failure, because the company is going so well, but because you were too stressed or you had too much to do. I'm thinking like during COVID, which were your thoughts during those periods? Were you thinking, I'm going to quit, or no, let's find a way to make this working, even if we are in a pandemic?
Yeah, for me, I've never quit. And so I don't know if it's in my blood or in my DNA to just say, I'm going to quit. Now, does that mean that we've not had failures? Of course. But I look at failures as a PhD in business or a PhD in life. And so you go through it and you say, why didn't that work? And what do I learn from that? And sure, I lost money, but that's just momentary anyway. Honestly, I've never had a thought of stopping, quitting. I see Savory filling such a big void in our industry, in the F&B industry. And it's just a persistent need to have the next cool brand out in America that consumers want. They get kind of tired of the old brands, and that's why dollars are shifting to the new emerging brands. And when you get a new emerging brand, like I use Kava just because most of your listeners and yourself, you guys know what Kava is. Kava wasn't a brand people even talked about 4 or 5 years ago. Now they've been talking about it nonstop the last 2, 3 years. And even still, people don't know what it is, but How long can kava grow now? Decades. And so there's all these great brands that can be like the next new household name for decades and decades. And I think that's cool. I got investments still in tech. The average tech company survives like 4 years because they're obsolete. What they built is obsolete. The tech company I started in 2003, which was my last tech company, and we sold it in 2009, it's still around. 22 years later, it's still around. I hold that like an award for someone building a tech company because it's still around. I like knowing the brands that we're involved with have been around 10 years and we're going to give them an opportunity to be around for decades more. That is a drive for me. So for me, quitting, no, I'm going to build Savory to the point where we can turn it over. We already have a succession plan in place for myself, for Shauna, for the team, because we believe Savory will be a household name in our industry more and more. It already kind of is in the emerging set, but I think it will be even more so of a household name 10 years from now or 20 years from now. And the younger gen of people that are working for us that are in their 20s and 30s, I see them as our future leaders of Savory that will take it into the future. So I feel like I'm building a 100-year firm here.
Nice, nice. And speaking for a second on a personal side, when I was doing corp dev, we were always talking about Chinese wall so that we couldn't talk with anyone else that was outside from our team. And you are working since 17 plus years with your wife, with Shauna. So I was thinking, and I wanted to ask you, how do you make decisions together without letting the business power dynamics bleed into your marriage? Because it is tough, it is hard.
Yeah.
Do you build these Chinese walls or?
Yeah, no, Chinese wall it's a good analogy. My analogy is a little different and you'll understand it, but I don't know if it matters if it's Shauna, my spouse, or Tyler Nelson, my president, or Taylor Dehart, my director on the investment team. Like all of my executives, I've worked with them all so closely for so long that all of us need a swim lane. We call them swim lanes. And if you think about the swimmers in Olympics, they all jump in the water and then you have the buoys in between and swimming down and they know where their buoys are. They can kind of do this in their lane, but they know what their buoys are. There's times that we swim a little too close and we're like right next to the buoy and I'm kind of saying, hey, I think you should probably do that. And she's like, well, I think you should do that. But we still respect each other's lanes, that it's not my lane. My lane's here. Her lane's here. Taylor's is here. And so we just respect each other's lanes so much that it starts with respect of each other's discipline, respect of their quality of work, their work output, and that we want to see them swim faster, do better, and win each other. So we're pushing each other, but we're not swimming like this in between each other's lanes underneath the buoys. So it doesn't matter if it's your wife, your spouse, business partner, good friend, because I've seen friendships where they jump in the water together and they're building a business together and they're like this, and then they fight each other and then they're not friends anymore. It's like, how stupid is that? It's such a travesty. Figure out your lanes, put the buoys in the water and just respect each other's buoys. And the sad thing is that the person that's swimming the last or is behind the most or drowning, they know they are. You don't need to go back and say, hey, by the way, you're drowning. Or, hey, by the way, you're last. All of us are way ahead. They already know that. It's better for everybody else to slow down and say, hey, let us help you speed up, still letting you control that lane. And that's what we do here. If someone's drowning, we go help them. We don't do it for them. We don't go say they're doing a crappy job. We pull them down the lane, but we don't jump in their lane and do it for them.
Well, it seems that you have found the perfect way to actually do that. And we are always closing the podcast with one question. If you could go back and change just one thing, one decision, one mindset, or even something that you wish you would have known, what would it be and why?
Yeah, I would go back into my tech days because that was a long time ago. Because I just want to tell myself, now listen, I wouldn't change anything about my career because my career's turned out really, really well. And I wouldn't regret any of it. I probably would have sold my business 3, 4, 5 months prior to the dot-com bubble because I would have made a lot more money. I sold it on the back side of the dot-com bubble, but I still had an exit and it was still successful in its own right. But money doesn't solve anything either. I've realized that whether you sell it at the right time or wrong time and you get this nugget of money, it's so anticlimactic and it's kind of, it has its finality to it. I don't like that feeling. But I'd probably go back and tell myself, Andrew, slow down. Just slow down and calm down because you got a long career. and you have a long life and you have a lot of time to figure this out. You don't have to figure it out this quarter, this month, today, this hour. You just don't. We have time. And I just see in our industry, even in food and beverage, and this is every industry, it's tech as well, but I would just say in the industry we're in, you sit down with founders and you're like, we're going to sell 50 franchises here. We're going to add 25 units here. I'm like, well, do you have the money for that? Do you have the team for that? Are you ready for that? Do you have the systems and the process in place for that? If no, slow down. Don't skip steps. Go from this step to the next step, even if it takes longer, and then go to the next step. Do it with discipline. And I wish I could have told my younger self that, Andrew, slow down. It's okay. You're going to have time. It's going to work out. Because I think we all over analog and stress ourselves out to go faster, right? The whole world is going too fast sometimes. It's like, slow down. We've been a firm now, as you know, like I just told you, going on 18 years. 18 years. And you look at how many businesses have started and we're like the hot shit company, and then they're dead now. And another company is really cool, hot, dead. Another one and I just keep watching them happen. I'm like, slow down. Build a long-term business with good fundamentals. I just wish I would be able to tell myself and others, just slow down. You don't have to win the race, man. Like in the day.
Yeah, going back to the basics and making sure that what you're building in a proper way, you're taking the right steps. It comes back again to what you did when you entered inside this business that you have chosen to enter from the dish pit so that you could make all the right steps. But Andrew, so first, thank you so much for sharing all your journey. It is always fascinating to hear it. And it has been a real pleasure to have you on Behind Numbers.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And to everyone else listening, thank you for joining us. If you have enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to follow Behind Numbers for more stories from the leaders shaping the future of business and finance. I am Alessandro Cozzi. See you next time.